The Broncos schedule just released. The opener facing the Titans at home on Monday Night Football. One of three primetime games for the Broncos as they look ahead to the 2020 season. I'm Phil Milani alongside Eric Dalala and Sidney Jones. Guys, what's the first thing that you look for when you get the schedule in your hands? Eric, let's start with you.
Yeah, Phil, well, I think a lot of people look for the bye week. I look for where the Broncos playing the Chiefs. And, they start in week 7 with a home game against Kansas City. I think that's a nice way gives you a few weeks to ease into it with your young offense, get things under control, get things settled. But then the other thing that stands out is that week 13 Sunday night football game against the Kansas City Chiefs in Arrowhead. Broncos have lost 9 in a row to the Chiefs, so need to get that monkey off their back. And for the first time since 2017, they're back on Sunday Night Football.
Yeah, that's probably the biggest game of the entire season, at least on paper right now. Sydney, what do you like to look for?
I always look for road stretches first to see, what their longest one is, or if they have a lot of long road stretches, which looking at this schedule, they don't have too many. Their longest is 2 games, which they have a couple throughout the season. But I always look for primetime matchups like Eric mentioned. They have 3 this season, which will be fun to see. I know that last one is subject to flex, so we'll see how that works out.
Yeah, but nice to see them back on Sunday Night Football, the biggest stage in the NFL. Let's just go through the schedule a little bit here. Mentioned the opener facing the Titans, but then a couple of weeks later, the Broncos facing Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Eric.
Yeah, I think weeks 2 and 3 at Pittsburgh and then home against Tampa Bay, you kind of don't know what you're quite going to get. What are the Steelers going to look like with Ben Roethlisberger back? I think that's a good time to get them early in the season. And then, if the Broncos offense can gel quickly, that'd be great. But maybe you don't want Tampa Bay's new offense with Rob Gronkowski and Tom Brady to mesh that quickly. And I think early in the season is probably your best bet to be able to knock them off because they're going to be one of the better teams in the league, I think.
But the one thing that I really noticed was the home schedule is a lot tougher than the road games, which is good. But, like you mentioned, the Broncos are welcoming the Titans for the home opener, who made it to the AFC Championship last year. Ryan Tannehill was looking really good at the end of the season. Eric mentioned the Bucs, who had a tremendous offseason with Brady and Gronk added to Godwin and Mike Evans too. But then you look at more into the home schedule and you see the Saints, the Bills, who both made it into the playoffs last year as well. So while it is good that these are home matches, I think it'll be really interesting to see how all those play out.
Yeah, there's a lot there for Broncos fans to enjoy at home, getting to see some of the top talent in the NFL. Guys, let's look in. What's the hardest stretch of the entire schedule? Eric, I think you are thinking in sometime in November.
Yeah, Phil, I think from weeks 12 through 14, they play New Orleans at home. Then they've got that Sunday night matchup against Kansas City. And then they have to go all the way to the East Coast to play an 11 a.m. Mountain Time game against the Panthers. And while the Panthers, they might be the easiest team right now looking at the schedule, that's a trap game if I've ever seen one. So you've got to come out of that stretch, hopefully with a couple of wins, but you can't afford to let games against the Saints and Chiefs there in Arrowhead, tack on another couple losses at the end.
I kind of agree with Eric. Definitely towards the end of the season, you have the Chiefs Sunday Night Football game. And then, towards the end of the season, you have more of those AFC West matchups. And I think that'll be the toughest part for the Broncos heading over to the Chargers' new stadium for them as well, too. So that'll be fun for them to experience that. But then they play Vegas to end their season as well. And you always know those are going to be good matchups. So I think that towards the end of the season, those will definitely be the hardest stretch.
Yeah, division games are going to count so much this season, and for the second year in a row, the Broncos wrapping up against the Raiders. One thing I look for is, hey, are there going to be any bad weather possibilities outside of playing at home? Looks like maybe that is just going to be at the Chiefs on Sunday Night Football, but hopefully it's nothing like last season in that snow game.
Yeah, that was a little bit rough, and I think division games normally are spread out a little bit more. We see this year, don't get your first one until week 7, and 5 of the 6 are week 10 or later. So we'll get a little bit of an idea about the Broncos here in September and October, but those last 2 months of the year are really going to decide whether or not the Broncos make it to the postseason for the first time since they won Super Bowl 50.
Sydney, I know coming from Wisconsin, a little snow is not going to bother you, right?
Not at all. I will feel right at home at Mile High during those last couple months of the season. So I'm excited for it.
All right, now I'm going to put you on the spot before we go here. When fans get the schedule, they go week by week, win, loss, win, loss. Eric, let's start with you. How many wins for the Broncos?
Oh, man. Let's see. You want me to go through it here? I think
No, don't go through it. Just give me a number.
Well, 10 wins, I think, is the benchmark for the Broncos. And if they can do that, they'll be back in the playoffs.
Sydney?
Eric, you stole my prediction. I was going to say 10 wins too, but, I'll give them one more. Let's go with 11 because, they added a lot of offensive weapons this offseason. So I'm excited to see what they'll do.
Nice. No hedging from you guys. And then I know that you like to return the favor to me. I say 16-0. So let's go. Let's get this thing started. That's our look at the Broncos 2020 schedule. For Sydney Jones, Eric Dalala, I'm Phil Milani.